Okay, so I want to make this short, sweet, and to the point. I took a vote on what you guys wanted with this truck. Did you want me to go higher with the front or lower with the back? The votes came in. Most of you guys, I think one person agreed with me on reverse leveling it. So the plan was we were going to level this thing, get some 3-inch springs, probably from Skyjacker, and kind of the same kit that Alex got. But unfortunately, some unfortunate events have come up in the next couple of months. So I'm gonna make this short, sweet, to the point. But the next couple of months are going to be very expensive, and unfortunately, I don't feel the need to buy $300 worth of springs in the next couple of months. So with that being said, I am going to do a tutorial on how to reverse level this truck, because I did a tutorial on it before. It got a lot of views years ago. Unfortunately, it does not exist anymore. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to take all of this. I have airbags on mine, so it's gonna be a little trickier, but I'm not going to take the wheels off. But I'm gonna show you guys how to take these two spacers right here and put them on the top. So I will reverse level it. And I'm going to keep the overload because I still do pull weights. All right, now I do want to let you guys know that in the future we will probably end up taking the reverse level off and putting on a actual leveling kit, and yeah, so that'll be a couple months down the road. But for now, I want to reverse level it because it's free. So unless one of you guys wants to send me a spring and shock to do the front and bring this up, it's probably not going to happen for a while. So let's get into the tutorial. All right, guys, so this is about where we are left off. Take the 4 bolts off of the top, pull the U-joints out. I had to undo this 14 mil here for my airbags that are not very happy right now, but this is generally how they look. I'll probably end up loosening these too. And then I'll need to move the axle front to back to get the bolts out, take these off, and then the second side is always the easiest one. So it's just figuring out the first one. It's been a while since I've done this, so I'm gonna do now. All right, so if you're like me and you're not able to get to a lift or use a lift, what I do is I will take, since I'm using 2 jacks, I will use 2 ratchet straps going from one side, one of the other frame, and then put them under the 4 springs themselves. Definitely take out the overload with this, even though you're gonna put it back in the same spot. It just allows for the bolts to come down. So now I can pull this whole thing out, separate the overloads, put these back on the top, bolt it all back down, and voila. So then this side will be done. So I will go over that here in a second. Okay, guys, now so on my truck, you will see here is, I used aftermarket bolts, so these are not the factory ones. So I'm gonna take these bolts out of these and then put these on the top of the springs, and that will drop you about, what, in this case, a little over 1 inch. So I'm not sure exactly what this will amount to, but it'll definitely drop the rear down, because I've had it before and it sat perfectly level. And even if it sits a little low in the rear, it's no biggie because you have airbags. So that's what we're gonna do. Throw this back on. And now you can also, these go in 2 different orientations. I like to have mine flipped up, so that way if I'm hauling a heavy load, it will sit on these, because with the way that it's gonna sit level, it'll just be touching these. If you flip them the other way, you're never gonna use them because the airbag's here. So I've seen a lot of guys, they'll take the overload out, which I have done, but I am not going to do that in this case because I would prefer not to, because this thing does haul some weight from time to time. All right, so if you don't have a lift, the first thing I'm gonna tell you to do is jack it up by the hitch, not by the axle, because then this will allow you to drop the axle so that you can get to the leaf springs separate. And my wheels are spaced out enough that I can get to all of the bolts, not a problem. So yeah, jack it up is the first thing to do. All right, well, this one side is done. There's a lot less room in here now. So the 4 bolts right here, you'll want to torque them back up. All the bolts on the side. I mean, this is pretty simple. Once you've loosened, because there's a bolt on the other side, there's a hex head, you're going to want to put a bolt or a wrench down there, tighten these 2 up. I know this one's not tight right now. We got some strip problems, so I got to go get a bolt for that. So I'll probably do that on Friday, but it's not, I don't think it's a big deal right now. So yeah, super simple, super simple. All right, so here's the other side for comparison. This is all like covered in mud and stuff. I tried to spray it off. But yeah, so now I want to explain the reason that this lowers the suspension is because these 2 blocks here are spacers, and then these 4 leaf packs there, bolt to the frame. So with doing so, by taking these out, it drops it about an inch, and you can take the overload out for even more. I probably should have taken the overload out on the other side, but I would prefer not to do that just because I've done it before and didn't like it. All right, step one, if you don't have airbags, step one would be take the top nuts off. They're a 21. Here's the plate here. Boom. And I'll probably have to beat it off with a hammer, but you get the point. So take this plate off, take both the U-bolts off. Okay, U-bolts on the ground. They fell, so there you go. You can see it's already splitting apart. So next step, figure out what size your bolts and nuts are, and or lift up the axle. So what I'll do is I'll end up taking a ratchet strap between the overload, so above the overload and the springs, and lift them up, 2 of them. This is if you don't have a lift, and then yeah, get a wrench underneath here and I'll show you that. All right, so I put a strap underneath right there in between the overload, and same with the front. Now the reason you do this is because if you're on the ground and you don't want to take the wheels off, like I don't have to. So it gives you enough space in between down here so that you can get a wrench on one side and the socket on the other. You can drop it down, and then you keep tightening it to the point where you can then get the overload out and the bolts out at the same time. So that's why I do it. You don't have to do this if you're going to take the wheels off. In my case, I'm leaving the wheels on because I have enough of an offset that it doesn't mess with anything. So there's your overloads. So next thing I'm gonna do is drop that down, and then next step. All right, so now that we got that off, I'm gonna tighten the straps enough to bring it up, and we should be able to get this off, not too hard. So got the nuts off the top, and you can see if I bring this up enough or jack the truck up even higher, I will be able to slide this overload out. All right, so the next step, you're gonna wanna split everything that you just pulled out. So I want to keep the overload. If you didn't want to keep the overload, then you know what, take it out. But here is my centering pin. It is crushed to all hell because I've done this plenty of times. So these will go on the top, and then this will go back on said bottom. Now how I hold it up is again with the ratchet straps. This is definitely a pain to do with just your hands, but we'll see how it goes. I'm not gonna be able to film it because it's probably not gonna work because I can't hold the camera and this. So yeah, overload, I'm gonna put on the bottom, shove up through, throw a nut on it, be done with it. All right, center bolts. These are tight. Now I'll probably end up taking the ratchet strap down and trying to see if I can't get the axle to come up to this, drop the truck down a little bit, and then boy, it's going together. So just want to get the truck to match up there so they're touching. All right, once you get her dropped down, you can see we are on the perches right there. So now we're gonna slide these up through and put the bolts on. So 21mm, torque the shit out of them. All right, we got that all done. All the bolts are tightened up. The airbags, which most people don't have, are all tightened down, so this is all good. I will get some shots when we get it leveled out, because right now the back is still going to be high because it needs to, the suspension needs to settle. So I'll deal with that in a little bit, get it driven. So alright guys, to finish up the video on leveling, reverse leveling, like I said, took the 2 spacers and put them on the top and kept the overload. Unfortunately, if you want this level, I recommend taking out the overload. You will definitely have to. So you can see that it is slightly higher in the back. So just slightly, like probably a little bit. So I'll have to measure it, but that's not the point of this video. The point is to show you how to do it. So there you go, you can do it. I'm gonna probably end up putting some 4th gen springs in the front to bring this up a little bit. It should bring it up about 1 inch, which will sit us about perfect. And then the airbags we can adjust from there. So, all right, hope you guys learned something. If you did, don't forget to unsubscribe, leave a hate comment, and dislike the video. See you in the next one.